Look at this lighting. I love it. I'm not mad about it. Hello, and welcome back to Tina Ranks Every Broadway Musical, Part 5. You may say to yourself, Tina, it's August by the time that you post this. And today I say, yes, you are correct. May happened, and I got very sad and very depressed. Wait, no! Air conditioning, stop! Wait! Oh, it happens every time. Right when I'm about to record, the air conditioning turns on. And then I have to be like, no, stop. It'll stop any day now. Any day now. Any day now. Great. So in May, I kind of fell into a depressive episode, and I kind of stopped listening to musicals. And then, on the 1st of July, I moved apartments. This is a new setup. I know you can't tell because of my self-tape blank wall, and you only have like the hint of the flowers sitting over here. But I promise, this is a completely new place. So that also ate up a lot of my time. And I was 146 musicals behind. So I did the only logical thing to do and just listen to musicals every day, almost nonstop. There was one point where I listened to 8 in one day. Well, 8.5. We'll talk about that later. But I finished listening to the month of May, and I think what's going to happen next month is that I will just do a mega episode of June, July, and August because I did the math, and I should be caught up within a month if I continue this insane schedule. So prepare yourselves for the mega ranking, as I like to say. The Broadway 2-a-day challenge is an internet challenge created by Stacey Muscati Moore, aka Theater Kid Audition Coach on TikTok. She wanted to give better and more obscure audition suggestions for her students, and she thought, what better way to do that than by listening to every single musical that's been on Broadway? And some people were like, hey, I'll join in for the ride, and now here we are driving ourselves insane. So in theory, we will be listening to every musical that has been on Broadway between the years of 1950 and 2020. The month of May essentially covers musicals from around 1970 to around 1975-ish. I will be ranking each of these musicals on the classic S through F tier scale. S tier is perfection, an all-time favorite, and you can't change my mind. A is really good, so good that I added it to my favorites on Spotify. B is not really for me, but I can see why other people would enjoy it. C tier is I enjoyed it in the moment, but now that I have to think about it, I can't really remember it. D tier is I couldn't really pay attention to it, and I definitely forgot about it. And F tier is no, stop, do not pass go. It is horrible, it is racist probably, or I just couldn't finish listening to it. I would like to add the disclaimer that all of my rankings are Tina-centric. They are based on my thoughts, my opinions, and my biases. There might be a musical that you like that I dislike, and vice versa, so I just ask that you be gentle with me. You'll see why. Last time I did this, I skipped over all the D, F, and L tier musicals, and I realized that I liked roasting musicals, so I will be reading them out loud this time, but I will be skipping over the L's. And the L stands for, of course, lost to time. Some musicals just don't have a recording, whether it is legal or not legal. And so, unfortunately, we won't be able to listen to them. Let us take a moment and pay homage to these musicals. Goodbye, you were good but not good enough. So please don't ask why, simply say goodbye. Okay, great. All that being said, let's get ranking. Look to the lilies. A former GI finds himself promising to build a chapel for a group of nuns, even though they have no way to pay him. I think the titular song is quite nice, but I'm definitely not going to remember this show by tomorrow, or by the end of the month. Or now. I give it a C. Applause! An aging actress gets replaced by her conniving young assistant. I enjoyed this one. The titular song is incredibly catchy, and the rest of the music is quite strong. I don't know if the criticism of, oh, it's about the business is a valid argument yet because we're in the 70s, but... Anyways, I give it an A. Cry for us all. A man runs for mayor of Brooklyn, but the news of his affair ruined his career and marriage. I remember nothing from it, because it simply wasn't interesting enough. And despite the plot synopsis saying the characters were Irish, a lack of Irishness. I give it a D. Company. A man reevaluates his life on his 35th birthday through his married acquaintances and girlfriends. The last song, Being Alive, is obviously a standout, but all the music in this show is incredibly good. Side by Side has been continually stuck in my head. If you'll allow me to theater nerd out for a moment, there's a moment in Side by Side, in the 2012 production, when they're going down the line and all the couples are like doing their cute little dancey bit thingies, and then Neil Patrick Harris, who plays Bobby, he starts to do his thing, and then there's just dead silence afterwards, and that's kind of like the turning point for him. And you can see that like not just on stage, but also like in the music as well. And I really love in the 2012 production how like he's kind of like weaving in between the dancing couples, and I think it's a very effective moment. Anyways, this show was so good, it sent me into a depressive episode. And at the end of the day, isn't that what art is really supposed to do? This is obviously an S tier. Park! 4 family members meet in a park. Bonding ensues. I wasn't too incredibly mad at it. Some of the music isn't very interesting, but then songs like Park and I Just Want It to Happen really pull your attention. I give it a C. The Rothschilds. The Rothschild family rises to notoriety. This one wasn't too bad. There are some moments in the beginning that literally made me cackle, and the music was pretty decent. I give it a B. Paul Sills Story Theater. It's a bunch of fairy tales. Technically, this is a play with music, and his Tony Award nomination is for Best Play, but I'll let it slide. It's a C. The recording is fun, but I think it would fare better if I saw it live. 2x2. It's Noah's Ark. The music was fine, but I do think the show could have ended at When It Dries, and no one would have been the wiser. Alas, it kept going. And then it lost me. Fun fact, lead actor Danny Kaye apparently got so bored with the show, he started to ad-lib things, and at one point, even tore a tendon in his leg while ad-libbing. Fun! Anyways, this is a C. The Me Nobody Knows, a collection of stories about inner-city children. I remember listening to it, but now I'm writing this 2 months later, and I don't remember anything from it. I give it a D. Lovely ladies, kind gentlemen, an American captain is sent to Okinawa, Japan during World War II to Americanize the natives, but falls in love with Japanese culture. The music is fine, but let's move on, shall we? This is an F. Soon, a group of young musicians find success in New York City, but pay the price. I wasn't too incredibly interested at first, but as it went on, I found myself very interested in the happenings of the show. The writers created the show as a criticism of the music industry, and it ended up getting them blacklisted from Broadway. In my opinion, I think it was worth it. I give it a B. Oh, Calcutta! It's a review, but it has, and I'm quoting this from Wikipedia, extended scenes of total nudity, both male and female. So because there's sketches with this review, I'm missing out on the entire experience. But the music definitely piqued my interest enough to make me want to see the show, so mission successful? I give it a B. Follies! As a theater is set for demolition, former Follies girls and their partners gather and reminisce about their youth. The only thing I wrote was another Sondheim piece, another enjoyable day. So I guess I really liked it. I gave it an A. Ari! Jewish refugees confront British authorities on the way towards their new homeland of Israel. Do you know the 1958 novel Exodus? Yeah, it's that. Apparently, the author of Exodus wrote the show and the lyrics, and it shows! I found myself wiping the memory of the songs from my head almost immediately after listening to it. Clive Barnes from the New York Times called it one of the least lighthearted musicals in Broadway history. So there's that. Ultimately, I couldn't stand to finish listening to it. This is an F. 70 girls, 70! A group of senior citizens steal furs to save the retirement home. I made a mistake of listening to this one before reading the plot synopsis, and I was very thrown off. The songs by themselves would work great as a review about being elderly, and that's what I initially thought this was. Anyways, It was a fun time, and I'd highly recommend it. This is an A. Earl of Ruston. Written by his family members after his death, Earl Wood writes music and spends time in mental institutions. I liked this one. It was a pleasant experience, aside from the Jesus repeated over and over again song, and it's like 38 minutes, so it's not a drag to listen to. I give it a B. Frank Merriwell. A college student has a series of adventures in 1896. I appreciated the prominent clarinet features, and Frank is very catchy, but I can kind of see why it only had one performance. I give it a D+. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It's Charlie Brown. I think it's pretty decent, but I'd probably need to listen to it again to really appreciate it. For now, it's a B. Jesus Christ, Superstar. It's the story of Jesus Christ. Yeah. I walked into this preparing to hate it, but you know what? It's not bad. It's actually very good. I enjoyed the concept of Jesus being represented by his rock motifs compared to the sounds of the Romans? I'm not Christian, I don't know this very well. Sorry. And it's written in a very compelling way. Curse you, Andrew Lloyd Webber! I give it an A-. Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. A series of monologues over music tells the story of African-American street life. I didn't like it. And I know someone on the Discord server really liked it, so I'm sorry. But I couldn't finish it. One of the songs has this non-stop repetitive riff that goes like, oh, how does it go? Bum 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 bum. Just that over and over again. And I couldn't pay attention to anything else but that. And it kind of like started like, you know, like riling me up. I don't know. I couldn't do it. I'm sure the words themselves had a lot of significance and I could pick up on that, but I couldn't continue listening. I'm very sorry. This is an F on the Tina scale. To live another summer, to pass another winter. It's a musical review, but it's also about the Bible and Israel. I have to quote what I wrote here is, what the heck? 3 question marks. It's so good? 3 question marks. The grove of eucalyptus is a standout. I kind of lost interest near the end, but most of it was still pretty good. I gave it an A-. The Grass Harp. A boy and his elderly aunts experience life, and also a tree is there. The music was a pleasant surprise. I'm not a fan of the ending song, but otherwise it's pretty okay. I give it a B. 2 Gentlemen of Verona. 2 men from Verona move to Milan. Comedy ensues. It's Shakespeare's play of the same name. I think the music was fine, and I can see why other people might like it, but my god, I could not stand it, and I ended up not finishing it. So, is it a B? Is it an F? We don't know. Wild and Wonderful. A former West Point cadet is sent by the CDA. Wild and Wonderful. A former West Point cadet is sent by the CIA to infiltrate a youth movement. There's a few legitimately good songs in there, such as Pretty Crime, and the performers are legitimately very talented, but otherwise it's very blah. I gave it a C+. Inner City. I am quoting this from Playbill.com. A series of nursery rhyme parodies highlighting the diminishing quality of life in the center of America's cities are presented in song. This one was quite fun, and though I probably won't be listening to it again, I'd say it's worth checking out. I give it a B. Anne of Green Gables. A girl is mistakenly sent to 2 middle-aged siblings who are expecting to adopt a boy. It's Anne of Green Gables. Yeah. Fun fact, before it went on Broadway, this show was actually produced annually at the Charlottetown Festival since 1965 and continued this tradition until 2019 because something happened in 2020. Don't know what it could be. Anyway, this show holds the Guinness World Record for longest running annual musical theater production. Cool! The music is pretty enjoyable, but it definitely feels dated. I wouldn't listen to it again, but I wouldn't be mad if it showed up on my Spotify. I give it a B. No, Nanette. A woman runs away for a weekend, and also a millionaire tries to convince his wife that he isn't cheating on her because he honestly isn't. He's just 3 women's platonic benefactor. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine enough, but I think it goes on for a little bit too long, and you can definitely tell it's a revival of a 1925 musical. I give it a C. Sugar. Two unemployed musicians disguise themselves as women to hide from a gang. Shenanigans ensue. The music was pretty decent, but I can't shake the plot from my mind. This is a C. Plus, different times. A family lives between the years of 1905 and 1970. Things change. This one wasn't too bad. I enjoyed a good chunk of the songs. I'm Not Through is incredibly catchy. I don't know if I can recommend it though, but I gave it a B- anyway. I guess. Hard Job Being God. It's the Old Testament, but rock musical. I don't know if I'm a fan of this one, it's just not my particular taste of music, and the lyrics leave much to be desired. And unfortunately, on this day, I just so happened to listen to a lot of religiously themed musicals, so I was very much done with listening about Noah and company. I gave it a D. Don't Play Us Cheap. A pair of devil bats take human form and try to break up a party. I quite enjoyed this one. It has a very unique sound. I think the things holding it back are the large amount of instrumentals with no context that sound like typical jazz, and the odd sound balancing of dialogue. It sounds very distant and echoey, but you can definitely hear the bass voices very well, which I always appreciate. I gave it a B. Heathen. Hawaii from 1819 and Hawaii from 1972 are compared to each other. This show is surprisingly good and a welcome relief to all the mediocre shows I've heard recently. I am appalled that it only ran for one night. I give it an A. Grease. Two high school seniors fall in love and other stuff happens too. I think it's Grease. I'm sure you're familiar with Grease. Everyone knows what Grease is. Grease is definitely way overdone, and I think as time has gone on, it's lost its intentions of being a subversion of 50s culture and just became an homage instead, which kind of warped some of the messages that it gives. Anyways, I like the music overall, but please, stop producing it. I give it a B. Plus? Great. Dude. The forces of good and evil fight over the soul of a man named Dude. I think this show struggles with finding a definitive voice. Every song changes genres, and it was hard to get a general feel for the show as a whole. This show also had a lot of struggles behind the scenes, closing after only 16 preview performances. Anyway, I don't really remember it now. This is a D. Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. It's a review about different aspects of Black American life. This one was pretty decent. I'd recommend giving it a go, even if I can't remember it. I give it a C+. Mother Earth. It's a review about Earth. The phrase, good old diddy will continue to live. The phrase, good old diddy will continue to live in my mind rent-free, but the rest of the music is incredibly mediocre. Good old diddy. Clive Barnes from the New York Times said that the sketches were terrible, adding that humorless humor is a form of oral pollution. So that's fun. Overall, the concept is frighteningly relevant, but this isn't the greatest way to go about it. I give it a C. Pippin! A young prince searches for meaning and significance as portrayed by an unusual theater troupe. I've never listened to Pippin beyond the opening number before today, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. The show is so well done, and I love the framing device of the theater troupe that kind of blurs lines between the tale and real life. I gave it an S. I surprise myself sometimes. Ambassador! A man travels to Paris to bring back his fiancé's son, but ends up falling in love with the European lifestyle. I listened to the first 20 minutes of it while trying to hunt down this pesky fly in my apartment, so that is now the memory I associate with this show. Anyway, it was pretty good. I'd recommend it. This is a B. Via Galactica. A group of people move to live on an asteroid in the far future to escape conformity. I have to read this quote from the Wikipedia page. The storyline was so incomprehensible that at the last moment, producers decided to insert a plot synopsis in the playbill, but audiences were still baffled by what they were witnessing unfold on stage. Also, remember Dude from like 4 shows ago? Same composer. Anyway, the music is bad. Almost comedically so, if it wasn't also boring. The Children of the Sun is the one redeeming song, but it's the one song. I'm giving it a C- because I think you just have to listen to this, just to hear how bad it is. Irene! A shop assistant is introduced to high society when she is hired to redecorate a house. The music isn't terrible. It's actually quite good. I just can't remember anything from it. I give it a C. Tricks! A man tries to keep two young couples' relationships successful. Hilarity ensues. You know Moliere? You know Moliere Scapin? Scapin? However, French? Yeah, it's that. It was fine. I gave it a D. Shelter! A television writer lives with a talking computer as he holds up in his house. Besides the frighteningly relevant concept, the music was pretty decent. I loved the French vibes of too many women in my life. I started getting more invested towards the back half of the show. I give it a B. A little night music. A group of mismatched couples have drama and stuff. Uh-oh. I know a lot of people like this one, and don't get me wrong, the music is fantastic, but I don't know if it's for me. I give it a B. Seesaw! A lawyer and a dancer have a brief affair. I really enjoyed the music. The brass features are a great standout. The show kind of slows down towards the end, but overall, it's a good time. I give it a B. Cyrano! A man charms a woman through writing letters while his friend serves as a You know Cyrano de Bergerac? Yeah, it's that. This show included the dialogue in his cast recording, which you think would help, but is actually very clunky, and I immediately tuned it out. I gave it a D. Raisin! A black family tries to improve their financial circumstances after the death of the father. Do you know the play Raisin in the Sun? It's that. The music in this one is pretty good, but I can't help but feel a slight disjunction between the ending of the musical and the ending of the play on which it's based on. It's still good though, so I gave it a B. Molly! Inspired by the radio and TV show The Goldbergs, a woman tries to make things alright after her son loses his job during the Great Depression. I think the music in this one was pretty decent. It's a shame the lyricist passed away during rehearsals, so they had to do some major rewrites, which probably contributed to it flopping, but I wasn't too mad about this one. I gave it a B-. Gigi! A young girl in Paris becomes a woman, and also love happens. I enjoyed this one a lot. I could do without the last line of Thank Heaven for Little Girls, and I'm not sure about the placement of the song Gigi since it feels like an emotional peak that happens too early, but otherwise, I really recommend giving this one a go. I give it an A. Words and Music, starring Sammy Cahn. It's a review about Sammy Cahn's life and his music. You could just listen to a list of Sammy Cahn songs and get a similar experience, but listening to Sammy Cahn tell his stories is such a calm and soothing experience, and so it's well worth it in my opinion. I give it a B. Rachel Lily Rosenblum, and don't you ever forget it. A woman rises to fame as a Hollywood gossip columnist. There was a point in the show where I was listening and I just went, is that Andre de Shields? It was. Anyway, I actually kind of vibed with it. According to Wikipedia, this show was kind of a cult classic with a few people who followed its production journey to Broadway, even as it flopped. If you do end up listening to it, I'd recommend going for the concert recording on YouTube. It doesn't have all the songs, but the vibes are much stronger there. I give it a B+. Lorelei, a wealthy widow, has wild adventures while sailing to Paris. Do you know Gentlemen Prefer Blondes? It's the same music, they just rewrote the book. I quite enjoyed the music, but once again, it's just the songs from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, so does it really count? I gave it a B. Smith. A man finds himself trapped in a musical comedy. This sounds familiar. The music is fine. I love the concept, but I was ultimately underwhelmed. I gave it a D. Over Here. A celebration of 1940s America becomes a criticism of it. First of all, the concept? S tier. I love celebrations and criticisms. I also am a fan of the big band sound that is associated with the 40s. That being said, I loved listening to it, but it's not very memorable. I give it a B-. The Magic Show! Drama happens with magicians. I feel like the music in this one is the most obvious that it was created in the 70s. I kind of vibed with it, but I can't say that I'm a fan. I gave it a C+. I gave it a C+? Okay. Mac and Mabel. A movie director and waitress fall in love as the latter becomes a star. Tragedy ensues. What the heck? This is actually really good. Like, I legitimately saved it on my Spotify because it was so good. I think it does suffer because the ending seems so sad and the most of the music seems so happy, and that turnaround is really fast, but otherwise it's fantastic. I give it an A. The Wiz. A girl gets lost in a magical land and has to find her way home. It's the Wizard of Oz. You know, the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Fun fact, I was in a production of this in high school, which I definitely should not have been a part of. But I think that's part of the reason I enjoy this one so much. The music is incredibly memorable, and the production itself is quite iconic. I give it an A. Yeah. Yup. Shenandoah. A man searches for his son during the Civil War. I think it was fine, but it never really grabbed my attention, and I only remember it because some of the songs were very bluegrassy, which is different. I gave it a D. Good news! A college football player falls in love with his astronomy tutor. This musical is from 1927! In 6 years! It'll be a century old! It's only here because it's a revival. But, the music was actually pretty good, and I'm not too mad at it, so, you know what? It's a B. Where's Charlie? The titular character disguises himself as his aunt so that his roommate can propose to a girl. Chaos ensues. I think it was fine. I don't really remember it. I give it a C. Man on the Moon. An astronaut must go to the moon to save the universe by disarming a bomb placed there by an evil scientist. I wish I was making this up. Fun fact, Andy Warhol was a producer of this show. Oh, what a bizarre show. And the music, it was just fine. It's not really for me. I give it a D. Good Time Charlie. Not to be confused with Where's Charlie or You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Good Time Charlie. A prince becomes a king and a young woman follows the voice of God. It's Charles Dauphin of France and Joan of Arc. Yeah. I remember the music being quite pleasant, but it ultimately wasn't something I remembered. I gave it a C. The Lieutenant. The events of the Vietnam War are covered over a 3-year period. The music is surprisingly good. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I had a very good time listening to it. I give it an A. The Rocky Horror Show. A newly engaged couple find themselves in a castle filled with classic B horror tropes. This is the part where I put on my blue light glasses because I don't know where my actual glasses are. Oh, look at that glare. Funny. Okay. Look. I know a lot of people adore this show. And the Rocky Horror Show is quite revolutionary in what it did for gender fluidity and sexuality. And I think it's a very prominent feature of LGBTQ culture. And I know that it's very important to a lot of people, and especially to one of my very close friends. I'm just not a fan of it myself. Please don't come for me in the comments. Oh, look, I can see why people like it. It's just not really for me, okay? I gave it a B, but this is like a B in the most true sense that it's not for me, but I can see why other people like it, okay? Don't hate me. And finally, Dr. Jazz. A musician starts jazz in America. That's it. There's like other stuff, including a girl and her boyfriend, I think, but you don't want to hear about that. The music was fine, but I just think that you could pick a jazz album, literally any jazz album, and get the same experience. Clive Barnes of the New York Times said, quote, "What went wrong was everything. The pity is that the story of jazz and its journeys could have made a lovely musical." End quote. And I agree with Clive Barnes. This is a C. And that, 3 months later, is all the musicals of May. So yeah, like I said, the next one is going to be a mega ranking of all the musicals I missed during the summer. And also to make it up to you for like, you know, being away for so long, I'm going to release a cover of a song that I did back in February that I changed my mind about, that like because I wasn't feeling good about it. I'm releasing it from the vault, so you get to watch that. And then after I finish stopping this recording, I'm gonna do another cover of a song that's been stuck in my head for a while. So yeah, I promise I'll make it up. I'll make it up to you. Okay. Listen. Hold my hand. Put your hand right there. Yeah. It's gonna be okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go listen to more musicals. Okay, bye.